I'm Melanie Kembry and welcome to The Drop, a culture show from the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age where we dive into the latest in the world of pop culture and entertainment. Osman Faruqi is on leave, but I'm joined, as always, by fan favourite Thomas Mitchell. Thomas, we're nearly at the end of the year now. How would you sum up your 2023?
Yeah, it's definitely been a year, and I'm still here to talk about it. So look, that's the most I can ask for at this point.
Did you reach all your kind of personal resolutions?
I'm not really a resolution guy. I did have on my list, I was going to go back to do like Spanish classes.
Okay.
And I haven't done that. So no, so the year's
Okay,
been a failure essentially.
Good. So personal development not high on the priority list.
Or muy mal, as they say in Spanish, which means very bad.
Very good. Well, from Prince Harry's Spare to Barbenheimer to Padam Padam and the Weekend in the Idol, 2023 was not a big year for you, but it certainly has been for pop culture. Actually, it was quite a big year for you, I believe. You had a baby.
I did have a baby, yeah.
But in this episode, we're going to share some of our favourite TV shows, films, songs and books of the year before we move on to impressing our friends, our favourite section. So I think let's start with TV because it's been quite an unusual year for television. The actors and writers' strikes saw shows delayed, streaming services struggled to keep subscribers. And while I know, Thomas, you wanted to convince me that prestige TV was dead, we've still had some pretty amazing shows hit our screens in 2023. Including the show that brought The Drop, well, The Drop in this iteration together, Succession. The fourth season of which finished all the way back in May. We laughed, we cried, you ogled Matsson a lot. You and I fought a lot about Kendall and Roman. That feels like a long time ago. Do you still feel the same way about Succession that you did when the finale wrapped?
I do. It's hard to kind of think back to that time. It was a very stressful time. You saw me on the edge of several mental breakdowns, I think. We would often watch the episodes in advance, then rush in to record the podcast, trying to process it and figure out what we had just seen because it was that kind of show. You needed to sit with it for a little while. But I think, we can talk about the finale because it's probably the best show of the year and probably one of the best TV finales I've ever seen. And I think now that we've had some distance and also, as you mentioned, so much stuff has happened in TV and we've been robbed of a lot of good TV because of the strikes, people really realised what we had in Succession. Like it was such an incredible kind of group viewing experience, aside from the fact it was amazing TV. And so, I think lots of people are really missing it. And me for one. Now that I've had some distance from the show, I'm like, oh God, I do miss that. I miss the crazy days of Succession.
When do you think you'll be ready to go back and rewatch? Have you thought about doing that?
Yeah, like I will. I'm not like a crazy rewatcher anyway, and I tend to do it when I'm on like long holidays, which I actually am on now. But especially like traveling overseas and stuff, which is probably not going to happen in the near future. So I think at some point I will revisit. But it's interesting because like Succession, I think was so big that it hasn't really gone away. Even despite the fact it was months ago that it finished. And even 2 weeks ago I read, so Jesse Armstrong is he's able to do interviews now because he also was like at the mercy of the writer's strike, couldn't talk about it. And he sat down with Vulture, a publication we both love, and talked about his feelings on the end of Succession. And I thought there was some interesting stuff in there. Like he kind of went deep on like they spent a lot of time gaming out like, could this show end with Kendall winning? Which I think was a lot of people's maybe like hope or curiosity or prediction, and no matter which way they kind of slice it and dice it, there was no ending where that felt realistic. So I thought that was interesting, and it's just nice to see more Succession content in the world. And
it's also good that you kept your job after Succession because, as we used to joke at the time, that was all you did for several months.
Yes, so I was a Succession correspondent.
You were, but you found other reasons to continue, which is good for us. Do you reckon any other shows managed to live up to Succession this year?
Yeah, maybe not the same bar as Succession, but I guess we both spoke about and loved The Bear. And, just recently we've had the Golden Globe nominations come out and The Bear has pretty much cleaned up. And in terms of, Succession being one of the great TV finales, I would say The Bear is also up there for season 2.
It's a facelift, it's not a gut.
Bear, it is a facelift and a gut.
It's gonna take 6 months to open.
6 months?
That's being
What, confident?
cocky. Crazy.
Still thinking chaos menu?
Yeah, chaos menu, but thoughtful. Ugh, gross. We need like a reset.
It's a funny show because, it's this like half hour, like kind of drama, but it gets slotted into the musical or comedy, like section for stuff like the Globes. But it is essentially a drama. But I thought that was probably the second best show of the year after Succession. And I thought the finale did a really good job of wrapping up that story and setting it up for an obvious third season. And yeah, like, as I said, at the Globes, it's kind of scooped the pool. It's up for best TV series, best performance by Ayo Adebiri, as well as Jeremy Allen White and Ebon Moss-Bacharach, who plays cousin Richie. So like, I would be surprised if it doesn't do really well there. And yeah, I think it's a reflection of the fact that probably is one of the most talked about shows of the year.
Yeah, I think so. And it was kind of after Succession, I think it was the first show that we could all get behind.
I mean, you kind of got behind it.
So, I started off hot and then I started off cold, then I warmed up to it. Kind of like, I don't know, I was in the kitchen.
You didn't like the love story because that was too like...
A bit much.
Yes.
I liked.
But then I think everyone has been pretty blown away by like Fishers was one of the great episodes of TV, that kind of standalone family episode.
Yeah, definitely. Along with Succession finales, one of the best episodes of television, just so perfectly well done. And then actually the kind of second half of the Bear season as well.
Second half was definitely
really
the
well
best,
done.
I think.
Yeah.
Like it really picked up there. But yeah, I think the Bear was pretty impressive in a year that contained like probably one of the best seasons of TV in Succession.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention another one because I agree with you with that. I think those two shows were the ones that really defined TV for many people in 2023. But I wanted to also mention Rain Dogs. Did you watch that?
No, I haven't gotten into Rain Dogs.
Yeah, it's the BBC HBO co-production. It was created by Cash Carraway and it was based on her memoir of British poverty, Skint Estate.
Costello Jones!
Thank you.
You can't stay here.
I promise you, I will write us out of here.
No, don't promise, just try.
Florian Selby's back in the free world. God help us all.
Come with me.
This is insane. Do you really think things could be any different? I will make Iris proud. I've got to hand it to you, don't
It's the story of Costello Jones, who's played by Daisy May Cooper, and her best friend, Selby Florian, who's played by Jack Farthing, and her daughter, Iris Fleur-Tachon. And it's like the kind of story of this woman struggling to make ends meet. She's working as kind of all kinds of jobs and she's facing poverty. She's economically and emotionally on the margins, and it's just so well done. It's only 8 episodes. It's on binge. It was one of the most I was so shook by it, for one of a better...
She used the young people language. I was shook.
To speak as the kids say, it was like really...
full of riz?
Core memory for me. Yeah, it really left a mark.
Would you say that there was
beautiful.
huge main character energy?
Yeah. I mean, I'm bringing that in this pod, I think.
Okay, good.
It was, it's really beautiful. And it also has one of the best party scenes in like a TV show that I've seen. Like just this whole episode that is set at this party that goes wildly array. Worth watching for that. The other one I thought was one of the best shows of the year, also kind of slipped onto the radar a bit, maybe a bit eccentric, was Telemarketers.
Yeah, I haven't seen, but I know lots of people that have watched it. And I know we talked about it on the pod before.
Hey, what's up?
Where are we going into?
We're going into Civic Development Group, and what we do is we call up people and chisel them out of money.
Money on my motherfucking mind.
Patrick and I both work at this telemarketing place.
This 14-year-old kid making calls on behalf of charities.
It's like a big-ass cookout.
Yeah, that's 3-parter, kind of shot over 20 years by these novice wannabe filmmakers who work, and turned out to be filmmakers who work in a telemarketer that is essentially a hoax and a scam. It's so funny, but also dark and real and poignant and like just gripping documentary making. Lots of kind of layers how it turns in on itself. Really interesting. Do you have any other 2023 TV recs you want to shout out?
Yeah, I think like it was actually quite a good year despite being such an interrupted year. I know we talked about it a lot, like at the start of the year, but I really think Beef is a show that, and again, this was, has been nominated for a bunch of Globes and stuff and will probably win some, but I think it still didn't quite get the kudos it deserved.
Hey?
I'm a dangerous guy. So stop messing with me and leave me alone.
or else.
I would love to let this go, but actions have consequences.
I just can't understand what those people.
So it's an A24 Netflix production. Probably just be like a one season thing with Stephen Ewan and Ali Wong as these kind of like two opposites who have like a car park altercation and then find themselves in this kind of like weirdly, gripping revenge tale, but they, end up needing each other and their lives become like really intertwined. It's like so funny and so weird and people really got into it. Not to mention it has like a great soundtrack, all these 90s hits, which we love. But I thought Beef was like probably one of the more unique shows. And as far as like other stuff, I really enjoyed Jury Duty on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that was good.
Like I spoke to Ronald Gladden, the guy, and it was just like a really funny and like sweet show. The type of show I would never normally watch, like, kind of like almost like a hidden camera prank show.
Juror number 54.
Me? Ready, guys? Here we go.
This is the most unorthodox trial that I've presided over.
This literally feels like reality TV.
Oh.
But it was like quite fascinating and like an impressive feat, I guess, of TV making to have this big setup where one guy, is kind of invited onto a jury and doesn't know that everything is a setup and they're all actors and you get to watch his very real responses. And I guess we, exist in a time when it feels like everything is fake and some people did think this was maybe fake, but I don't think it was. But yeah, like so seeing someone's, he was a genuinely nice guy and he responded to these situations that were forced upon him in like a really, kind of nice and authentic way, and people really responded to that. And yeah, I thought and on top of that, it was like fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it was. And I feel like what we saw in Jury Duty also set the scene for kind of more Nathan Fielder comedy. Like we saw The Rehearsal as well this year. And we've also got The Curse on at the moment, which we've been talking about on the pod. Like I feel like it's been a kind of year for that style of comedy, which is a bit what's real, what's not real, what's mockumentary, what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more of those come out next year as well.
And I would also probably shout out, and, credit to you for this one, which does pain me.
Oh, thank you so much.
The Beckham doco.
Oh, yes. Thomas, for the listeners at home, told me, it's not going to be a thing, that Beckham doco.
Tonight we bring you the story of how David Beckham became a global phenomenon.
David Beckham, unstoppable.
I never really did well at school because all I ever wanted to do was play football.
I knew it would be a thing for me because I love Beckham, but I wasn't sure how much like the general population would have an interest in, a four-parter about his life.
The most famous footballer in the world.
Yeah, but he's not super interesting. Like he's great.
You just have some unique insight. You're like, I'm so eccentric like King Beckham.
I know, it's crazy.
No one else will get what I get.
He's really going to be somebody. No, but it was great. Like we all, watched and loved it. And there's been a lot of chat I think about like, I guess, these documentaries where the talent is also like a producer and the Beckham doco wasn't, like super interrogating of its subject. But I think particularly because it lent into that like 90s nostalgia and it was taking us back to like the 90s and noughties and, we're also fascinated with that era. That was really good, like a bit of a surprise hit for me. And like watching, the Robbie Williams one that came soon after, which was not as good, even made me appreciate the Beckham one more. So yeah, I enjoyed that more than I thought I would, and I went into it thinking I'd like it.
Yeah, I think about that final scene where Victoria and David are dancing to that.
Yeah.
So often. And yeah, that's the dream, isn't it?
I mean, also she's just got like a mad house. Like that is a great house.
Yeah.
And they do like, I feel like lots of people, especially in my friendship circle, have got a strange obsession with David and Victoria Beckham because they seem kind of like the perfect family. All the kids are really nice and attractive. They're really attractive. They still seem really in love. And that, like, if anything, reinforced to me that they do seem like a really nice couple, actually.
Yeah, somehow they managed to really make the family values come to the forefront of that documentary, more so than the celebrity and the money and the power. And so, like, I guess a lot of people could relate to them because, they're just people who want to have a nice, happy family.
Exactly.
Which, yeah, I think people couldn't relate to more than the other stuff.
And Brooklyn is one of my favourite photographers. So, like, sadly, there wasn't enough Brooklyn in the doco. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. So it has been a big and interesting year for TV. And obviously, the strikes, like when it broke, I think we did like an emergency pod to discuss what was going on. And for a while, it seemed like no one knew what was going to happen. And, you know, I spoke to Duncan Crabtree Island, who was like the lead negotiator for SAG. And I remember he said to me like, oh, it could be easily until January, February that this gets resolved. And it was kind of like bang on, really.
Yeah, it was. And I think like we probably haven't felt the full impact of it this year in terms of we've not been able to speak to actors and screenwriters, and so that's obviously impacted us. But I don't think the schedules are going to be fully impacted till next year. So we'll go through the lineups at some stage on a pod, but like I think a lot of the shows are being pushed back. Like for White Lotus, for example, we know that's not coming back till 2025 now because the filming of it was delayed and the writing of it was delayed. So I think some of our favourites have been pushed back, and so next year maybe it might start to look a little thinner on the lineup than this year.
Yeah, I know. I'm sad about the White Lotus, and that because I feel like that'll be a big like gap in 2024 lineup, you know, and I do wonder, it was on such a hot streak and the second season was arguably better than the first, and I just wonder if that year break will kind of rob it of some momentum, and inevitably there'll be some show next year that comes out that is like, you know, the new White Lotus, or like that has that same kind of like water cooler moment. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. Like, has that genre of television that is making fun of the rich reached its like oversaturation? Because, you know, the Menu, Triangle of Sadness, we have seen it kind of happen a lot lately. So
yeah, and even with like, we saw Saltburn and some people were like, oh, that's another Eat the Rich thing, but I don't think it was. But also like it was bad.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's that. Sorry, guys.
Well, look, we could talk about TV all day, but we do have other mediums to get onto.
I personally can't wait for books.
I'm saving that to the end. The best till last, making people listen so that we could get to the book podcast.
Yes, delayed gratification.
Let's move on to films. You and I, we saw pretty much every film together this year, as we've discussed frequently. A lot about your film, Going Identity. Any regrets? Any comments about the year in film viewing?
About the year in film, or about my personal experiences in going to the movies?
Your personal experiences.
We did see a lot of movies together. Lots of different like times of the day and night. I feel like you have painted a picture of me to the public that I'm just like this kind of gluttonous pig that gets to the movies and then like just hoards all my snacks and then grazes. So that makes me sad, but I've enjoyed it. I really enjoyed seeing movies with you. It's a funny thing to go to a movie with someone you like. I feel like you learn, you know, a lot about them as you have also experienced. And I think you're very good. You're like a little quiet mouse.
Oh, thank you. Just who you want to go to the movies with.
Well, it's better than, you know, whatever you think of me.
The alternative, the elephant. We spent so much time talking about like analysing going to the movies. I don't know if other people find it as interesting as us.
I mean, look, we'll probably find out in the comments.
But some of the movies we did see, Barbie, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Oppenheimer, they've been topping the global box office at the moment. And of course, the biggest day for ticket sales is still to come, Boxing Day. So even though I want to have a quick chat about the year in viewing, we've got to acknowledge that some of the big films, Aquaman, Disney's Wish, Yorgos Lanthimos' Poor Things, starring Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, and of course your most anticipated film of the year. You're like a one-man PR shop for this, anyone but you, starring
Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney, and she's coming to Sydney for it.
Let's just tell everyone we're together.
What?
Could be kind of fun.
There's no way we can convince anyone we actually like each other.
Trust me. We're at a wedding, a million miles away from home. Who knows what could happen?
Yes, anyone but you. And I mean, they don't really even need any more PR because the movie has been more PR, I think, than like even actual content around the film. They've had a pretty impressive marketing campaign, I would say. Like, you know, it comes out on Boxing Day, as you said, you know, filmed in Sydney. There's been so much like rumor and conjecture about the lead stars, Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. I have my own theories on that, obviously, because Glenn Powell is boring.
That's the theory.
That's the theory. But I think
he does look like an AI-generated Hollywood leading man.
He does.
Like Ryan Gosling, who's being kind of slightly misshapen.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling from Wish.
Yeah.
I actually think the movie will be really good, though. Like, I know you want to see it because you're like, it'll be like a dumb rom-com, but I actually think it'll be quite funny. And they obviously have like a decent chemistry. I'm like cautiously optimistic.
The trailer kind of alarmed me for that. Like, I thought the trailer maybe looked a bit too lame, but I'm really excited to see it. And so we know that will probably be your favourite movie of the year. But from the ones we have seen already, what is your pick? 2023 movie of the year.
Yeah, it's a big shout. There was obviously a lot going on, and we all kind of like rode the wave of the Barbenheimer kind of phenomenon, which was also really fun. Like, I know this isn't the question you asked me, but I'm just going to say this. I think there should be more like tandem releases. It was a fun way to get excited for like cinema culture. But anyway, on that note, I would say probably Oppenheimer is my film of the year.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well.
And I know what it means. If the Nazis have a bomb.
I have a 12-month head start.
18.
How could you possibly know that?
We've got one hope. All America's industrial might and scientific innovation connected here. A secret laboratory. Keep everyone there until it's done.
Let's go recruit some scientists.
Obviously, it's been, again, nominated for a bunch of awards. It came out in tandem with Barbie, which was amazing too. But I just think Oppenheimer, as a story, as an execution by Christopher Nolan, performances, like it all just came together so well. And since like we saw this together and we saw it at night, which was tough because I think we'd seen Barbie the night before. I was very sleepy. But I've since rewatched it, and it really is an incredible film. I love Nolan anyway, but it ticks every box for me for like what I like about going to the movies. And yeah, I would say that's my film of the year.
Yeah, I reckon so. And I think a lot of the films that we talked about earlier in the year, which had their US kind of summer release, are now available on streamers. Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Barbie. So I have gone back and watched them all, and Oppenheimer by far was my favorite. Like just kind of pacey, punchy, incredible performances from Cillian Murphy and the whole cast, really.
It's funny though, because we're obviously at the end of the year and there are so many like best of lists like what we're doing. But like I was reading through them recently, and like very few are putting Barbie in like the top 3 even. Like lots of Oppenheimer, lots of Killers. I don't know, is that unfair on Barbie?
Maybe slightly, and I wonder if the popular hype around it is why kind of critics are turning their nose up at it in a way.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's kind of an surprising response to a film that's so much about girlhood and womanhood when we still have a kind of critical industry that's dominated by certain kind of filmmakers and certain kind of critics. Not that that's changing, but the fact that there was such big love from this, particularly from younger people, like doesn't surprise me. I'd definitely still put it on the list of top 10 films of the year.
Hey, Barbie. Can I come to your house tonight?
Sure. I don't have anything big planned, just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and a bespoke song. You should stop by.
So cool.
You can find me under the lights, diamonds under my eyes.
This is the best day ever. It is the best day ever. So is yesterday, and so is tomorrow, and every day from now until forever. Do you guys ever think about dying?
When my heart breaks.
Would you put Fair Play on there? Because I was considering whether I'd put that, and I reckon maybe I would put it in top 10, not in the top 5.
Yeah, I'd put it in top 10 for sure. I think Fair Play was like really surprising. I think it's cool when Netflix just like drops these movies on there and, you know, you haven't heard too much about them. I thought it was really interesting, like kind of relationship dynamic and exploration of power.
He's promoting me.
Congratulations.
I'm sorry.
Why? I'm so happy for you. Okay. Wonder how she got the fast pass. Reporting to her? Jesus, man.
Look into this. Let me know what you think.
I'm still working on the 3 from before.
Okay, we'll make this one the priority. Can I buy you another?
Now that you're making more money than me.
The fact that you've got this couple that works in such a stressful, you know, hedge fund industry, so competitive, and then, you know, you put them in the same workplace and watching that unfold, it actually is very, I don't know, maybe I liked it because I have lots of friends in that position. Like lots of my friends are kind of, might be in the same industry or whatever. I thought it was great. And again, I thought the performances were really good.
Yeah. Anything else you want to shout out from 2023?
Yes, I do have one. A little known film called Maestro.
Oh,
yes,
okay. I haven't seen this yet.
I'm fresh from seeing it, so I'm like being in the Maestro hype.
I love people so much that it's hard for me to be alone. That music, it keeps me glued to life.
I don't even know how much you need me to.
I might.
If Sama doesn't sing it,
then nothing sings in you. And if nothing sings in you, then you can't make music.
Look, we're at the very end of the year. Could be up there with one of the films of the year.
Okay.
Bradley Cooper, I must say, for the guy that's like fucking really good looking and stuff, and like he's just like, how many skills does this guy need to have?
Yeah,
he's like so hot. He's such a good director, and he's amazing in this. Like he did, A Star Is Born in 2018.
Yeah, he can sing too.
He can sing too. Yeah, in the shadows.
Thank you.
But that was like 2018. I think everyone was like, okay, that's pretty good effort. Like, it was nominated for a bunch of Oscars. He didn't get Best Director. Obviously, he's now done Maestro, which is about famous composer Leonard Bernstein. It opens with his kind of the end of his life, and then cuts between like the 1940s and 80s, and looks at his relationship. Obviously he was a famous composer who had relationships with men and women, and you've got Carey Mulligan, who in the best film she's done since Saltburn. But like it really is shocking how talented I think Cooper is, and I'll be like amazed if he doesn't get nominated for Best Director for this.
Yeah.
And so that's another one that's like obviously at cinemas now and coming to Netflix, I think December 20. This is not a surprise. Maestro's been heavily hyped, but it definitely lived up to expectations for me.
Do you think you need to go and see it in the cinema, or waiting for till home time is?
I don't think it's like an absolute must, like an Oppenheimer for the cinema. But yeah, it'll be so funny if like that is another, like how many like conductor films have we got? We've had like Tar and now Maestro. Like, is there any other famous conductors? Like who's next? That's it. It's two.
That's you're right. You've discovered a trend, conductor.
But yes, I feel like I know your other one because I was really wanting to see it, and you've already raved about it previously on this pod.
Oh, Past Lives.
What a good story this is. Childhood sweethearts who reconnect 20 years later and realize they were meant for each other. In the story, I would be the evil white American husband standing in the way of destiny.
Shut up.
He was just this kid in my head for such a long time. I think I just missed him.
Did he miss you?
Yes, Celine Song's Past Lives. We have talked about it a fair bit, so I won't go into too much detail, but I do think it's one of the most beautiful films about two childhood friends who kind of, their story over 24 years. It's about things you don't say, the things you do say, love lost, love found. It's beautiful, quiet, sensitive film. The one I reckon will be, if I was to think about future me, like post-Boxing Day me, the film...
What's post-Boxing Day you look like, exactly?
Just watching the cricket. Yeah. No. The one I think I will probably love most is Yorgos Lanthimos' Poor Things.
I am Bella Baxter, and there is a world to enjoy, circumnavigate. It is the goal of all to progress, grow.
A woman plotting her course to freedom. How delightful.
Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, it's getting sensational reviews. I love absolutely everything he does. The Favourite, one of my favourite films. The Lobster. I think he's a brilliant director. I love the comedy and the style. He works with the same actors quite a bit. Like, he's kind of got the same shtick with them. So I'm really excited to see this one.
I think Rami Youssef's in that. And I love him. So I'm excited for that.
It's got a stellar cast. Okay, let's move on to the music front. We've seen Taylor Swift named Spotify's top artist of the year.
Shocking.
Who was your top artist of the year?
Mine was really surprising. I think it was a bit influenced by work this year.
Okay.
I'm
intrigued now.
Yeah, well, it was Luke Combs.
Oh, it wasn't influenced by work.
No, but, well, it was.
That was not influenced by work. That is you through and through.
No, I love Luke Combs, but he was not my fucking top artist
of the
year.
He was all you talked about. I bet your favourite song was Fast Car too.
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was something else, I think. But we did so much like country. We did the country music pod, and I interviewed him, and so because I'm a dedicated journalist, I listened to his album a bunch. I love Luke Combs, but I was a bit like, also it's the first year in my life or since Spotify Unwrapped began that it hasn't been John Mayer. So normally it's like, you're in the top 0.01% of John Mayer fans. And this year he wasn't even in my top 5, which was devastating.
I genuinely don't know what is better or worse out of those two options for your number one.
I'm not proud of it, but I am who I am.
Lean into it. Yeah, so Taylor Swift, top Spotify. Troye Sivan, Kylie Minogue were showing Australia's pop dance prowess. TikTok was speeding up old songs, creating new stars. Tate McRae, to name a few highlights. Well, we were just talking about your favourite artist, but now if I was going to pick your favourite song, did it include the lyrics? Oh,
You got to sing it. Sing it. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to.
For people like me.
People like you wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is. Living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord.
This is Oliver Anthony, of course.
Rich men north of Richmond.
That song feels like a whole year ago, even though it was only a few months ago. But was that your favourite song?
Definitely not. I'm sure it probably feels like a whole year ago too for Oliver Anthony, who's like, oh God, remember what it was like to be famous for that half an hour in September?
I feel sad for him because I think he had some like tours lined up and I'm just wondering if they're still
Yeah, I mean, they're probably really packed for like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't my top song. And as I said, John Mayer did not release any new music, which was sad. So I can't go with that. But there was some music I really loved this year. I was blown away by Olivia Rodrigo's Vampire.
Bleed me dry like a goddamn vampire.
I didn't expect to be into her, but like we obviously spoke a lot about her and, you know, she was such a big force in the pop culture world. I like kind of got on board just to see what the fuss is about. And like I really get it. I think she's doing something a little bit different to what the other, you know, pop stars of now are doing. She's got really funny lyrics, really tight editing and production. So I loved that album. I also thought, you know, you touched on it there, but Troye Sivan, the Rush album is great. Got Me Started is probably, like, it's only come out in the last couple of weeks and I've played that song. It'll probably be in my Spotify wrap for next year. Like,
I feel like that could be your song of summer.
Oh my God, it's so good. Yes,
Yeah.
it definitely is. It like samples Bag Raiders' Shooting Stars, which is one of the all-time great songs. And it's just like, if you put that song on, it's impossible to be unhappy.
Me started, and I don't think I can stop it. And I don't wanna go home alone, right? Oh, baby, why can't I be honest? Kind of misusing my body. Fuck it, just like this body did tonight. Oh, baby.
I was playing it yesterday in the kitchen with my 1-year-old son and he doesn't know anything about pop music and he was loving it. So that was great. And then I do think, you know, we joked about it, Luke Combs.
No.
He's had a big year, man. He's been streamed like 5
You just
billion
defended
times.
him being your favourite artist and now you're like, he's my favourite song.
Well,
though.
he's not my favourite artist.
Oh, he is.
He's great. And he sold the most tickets in Australia this year. He sold something like 90,000 tickets in 5 minutes. My whole entire extended family went to the show along with Latrell Mitchell, South Sydney star, and loved it. And like, there is no denying the like year that Luke Combs has had. And off the back of that, by extension, you know, country music and, you know, Zach Bryan and all these
Morgan
guys.
Wallen, who you introduced me to.
Yeah. You know, these guys are all like in the middle of something, but I think Luke Combs particularly really, really hits for me. And Fast Car.
You got a fast car, and I want to take it to anywhere. Maybe we make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me, myself, I got nothing to prove.
I know you don't
You're
think
not
it's
picking that as your favourite song
No.
of Luke Combs.
No, but you think it's a bad cover.
I don't think it's a bad cover.
Yes,
I
you
just don't think it's as good as the original.
Yeah, but I heard you in the office one day, you were like, oh, he doesn't add anything to it, blah, 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 Luke Combs sucks. And like, it's like the most popular song of the year. So I'm not calling it my favourite song of the year.
But that's what this section is, your favourite song of the year.
Well, for that, I'm going Got Me Started by Troye Sivan. But I'm giving honourable mention to Luke Combs because you have spent so long trying to bring him down.
Undiscovered country hero that needs defending from
Correct, yeah. Another white guy with a guitar just doing his thing.
I love the idea of you just seething in the office as I go around spouting off about Fast Car.
Yeah, seriously.
I also would say Olivia Rodrigo's Guts was kind of one of my albums of the year. Get Him Back, such a banger.
I met a guy in the summer and I left him in the spring. He argued with me about everything. He had an ego and a temper and a wandering eye. He said he's 6'2" and I'm like, dude, nice try. But he was so much fun.
Caroline Polachek's Desire I Want to Turn Into You, that album I think is so good. The song I love most from it, I Believe.
I don't know, but I believe we'll get another day together. Fall in love.
I saw her at the Enmore recently. Concert was so fun. She was so fun, so high energy. Like, it's a great album. I don't know if you're a huge fan of hers, but I feel like you could get into her. Scissors Kill Bill from the SOS album.
Still a fan even though it's salty. Hate to see you with some other but know you happy. Hate to see you happy if I'm not the one driving. I'm so mature, I'm so mature, I'm so mature. It got me a therapist to tell me there's other men I ain't doing one night, I just want you.
That's a banger of a song, right?
Yeah, it is, agreed.
I put that up there. Victoria Monet's On My Mama. Like, that could be my song of summer. Very,
I can see
very
it.
like kind of sultry summer, fun, sexy.
Cricket's on in the
Lots of-
background in mute and you're just...
I got a lot of women loving themselves, loving their body. A few revenge tracks in there. Yeah.
I know, I feel like you're also going through something.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good vibe to have.
I look good, you can't touch my bag, wish you could. I look fly, I look too good, put that on my mama, on my hood. I look fly, I look good, you can't touch my bag, wish you could. I look fly, I look too good.
All right, well, I think now the section we've all been waiting for, that we all, as Drop viewers and a host, had to campaign for more books on the Drop.
Yes.
We've done it. Here we go again. It's been a great big year for books on the Drop and off the Drop. Prince Harry and Britney Spears delivered memoirs. Rebecca Yarros made us want to be dragon riders in the very sexy Fourth Wing. And then Yellowface was an instant bestseller. One of my highlights of the year, and I'm kind of picking a book that I think would also work well for people over summer, was Curtis Sittenfeld's romantic comedy. It's about this SNL-esque successful scriptwriter who meets a pop star, Noah, and she tries to flip the script on, a famous, handsome pop star falling for a lowly TV writer. I guess the joke is that often happens with kind of successful women falling for mediocre men, and Curtis Sittenfeld's playing with that idea. It's really fun. It's a great read for summer. Like, it'll make you laugh out loud, but it's also clever. It's not trash.
Yeah.
I tried to think of a way to
I can feel you trying to
please that
soften it.
more. Yeah. I just went with it. The other ones I reckon were kind of favourites for me. Zadie Smith's The Fraud. I think I might have mentioned this at the time. It's this real epic story, real life trial of a man in 19th century London who claimed to be the heir to this enormous fortune. And then the trial is about, was he the actual heir or was he just a butcher from Australia? It's a kind of sweeping read, but really great. You kind of get stuck into it. Pages turn. And the other one I thought was really great this year was Naomi Klein's Doppelganger. It's like this really insightful read about truth in politics. It was prompted because Naomi Klein kept being confused with Naomi Wolf, who is the author of The Beauty Myth, a very famous feminist book. Thomas, I imagine you've read it.
Several times.
But, Naomi Wolf has more lately been kind of aligned with moving into anti-vaxxer territory, and online Naomi Klein kept getting confused with her, and so it's all about that. It's really interesting nonfiction read, and our friend Osman Faruqi gets a shout out in it, which was such a fun thing to discover as I turned the page, because he has a very interesting, I was going to say funny, but also kind of alarming anecdote of being confused with kind of another man,
yes.
another brown man, as he would say.
Yes.
So that's fun too. I thought I had to include that.
Yeah, I've read a lot about that. So do you ever get confused with anybody?
I get called Meg a lot, mainly exclusively on this podcast.
Yeah. You do have big Meg energy though.
What about you?
No, not really. I've kind of,
You're perfectly unique.
Yes, despite having a very common name.
Yeah, like a snowflake.
Yes, correct.
What about you? Any favourite books do you read?
I do. I used to be a famous reader. One of the great readers. Yeah. I read with the best of them. This year, I've got obviously my baby just turned 1, and that has been an enormous spanner in my reading and also just my general well-being. But no, but it was funny because did you ever do that thing, or do you do that thing where you write in your notes what you read for the year?
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, and same. And so it's so depressing looking back at 2018, 2019, and seeing how good the lists were. And then I knew obviously all my friends warned me once you have a baby, and he was born, last December, so right at the start of leading into 2023. And my list this year is so sad.
Oh, how many?
3?
That's good.
I know. I mean, if we're not counting That's Not My Tractor, That's Not My Wombat, That's Not My Monster, and obviously Goodnight Moon, which I have read several times. Yeah, I didn't get to read as much this year, but I just kind of watched from the sidelines. But the ones I did read and enjoy, so Death Valley, a recent one from Melissa Broder, I loved. Milk Fed, her previous work. People are kind of a bit split on this one. It's, I guess, narratively, it's a bit out there. It's kind of about a woman who's, dealing with multiple crises in her life. Her father is unwell. Her husband is unwell. She takes herself off to this remote kind of location in the desert, stays at a motel, and then goes out hiking, ends up walking into a giant cactus where she meets the younger version of her father. There's all sorts of weird stuff. But I find that Broder's tone is as dry as the desert she is trapped in.
Wow, you don't need to read a book. You should write one.
I have famously written a book as well. But yeah, so it's very funny, and I enjoyed that, kind of snuck that in at the end of the year. I also read earlier this year I'd Rather Not by Australian writer Robert Skinner. Very, very funny. It's basically just a kind of bunch of short essays about a man doing all the things we do, working and existing in the world and trying to pay his bills and meet people and go to house parties. It's almost like a bunch of vignettes or just thoughts, but very, very funny. And I love books like that. He's kind of almost like an Australian Sedaris, which is once how I tried to sell myself, but it appears Skinner has done the job for me.
You realised you better lower that bar.
Yeah. I was I'm more of an Australian Dave Hughes. But then the final one is...
Oh, I know exactly why you picked this book.
Yeah, this one is Greek Lessons by Han Kang. It was translated this year, came out in 2011, but translated into English for the first time this year. Obviously, I'm not sure if you know, Mel, but Han Kang won the Booker Prize for The Vegetarian.
I do.
And then...
The prize in translation. Yeah.
Get out. Get off the podcast. But Greek Lessons is again, very beautiful. Almost like we spoke about Past Lives. It almost has a similar energy to that. It's a quiet novel. These two characters, one of them, is kind of almost I guess, mute. Learning ancient Greek together. It brings them together in this kind of weird language school in Seoul, Korea. They're very, you feel their lives beginning to intertwine. There's this relationship that develops. It's a very strange novel, but one of those ones, and it's short as well, but you just feel it kind of washing over you really quickly. So I thought that was a great read, and yeah, probably one of my favorites of the year.
Man, The Vegetarian was such a good original, inventive book. That would be on my favorite books of kind of the recent decades, I think.
Yeah, and you can even enjoy it if you're not a vegetarian.
You can. Maybe it'll make you one, actually. All right. You have impressed me with your
hope so.
Yeah. Let's move on to impressing other people with one of our favourite sections, Impress Your Friends. My one is Bottoms, which is a queer teen sex movie. It was directed and written by Emma Seligman, who co-wrote it with Rachel Sennott, who we know from The Idol, plays one of my favourite characters.
I'm sure she's so happy you brought that up.
Assistant to Jocelyn. Hey, just thinking now, we should have probably include I'm a Freak in our best songs of the year.
I actually do love that song.
Yeah, that was actually a banger. Anyway, Rachel Sennott is in this, and she co-stars with also our girl, Ayo Edebiri from The Bear. I reckon this deserves to be a cult classic. It is so fun. It's about two lesbian best friends. They set up a self-defense club as an empowering thing, but really they just want the popular cheerleaders, one of which is Kaya Gerber, to
she is hot.
To have sex with them. But it is very funny. You know I love Shiver Baby. I've talked about it on the pod before, which was the two of them as well. This isn't as good as Shiver Baby. It's not kind of life-changing in that way, but It's so funny and it's a really enjoyable, good watch. We talked about No Hard Feelings, the Jennifer Lawrence film earlier in the year, and it's kind of like, that's the kind of, you're sitting in the same mood, but it's obviously doing something very different. So I think that's like, once it hits streamers, it's in cinemas now, but once it hits streamers, it will be one to download. What about you? How are you impressing me?
I try my best to impress you every
try?
day.
Do you?
This one, look, I think when it comes to TV, lots of people.
Hello, mansplaining voice here.
The thing about TV is, when it comes to TV, I feel like lots of people have been searching for the next Fleabag. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Obviously, Phoebe Waller-Bridge's Amazon show is one of the greats. Everyone loves it, and it kind of kicked off a particular genre of TV. And this, I think, is one of the closest that we get to it. This is Smothered on Binge. Very funny comedy created by Monica Heisey, whose name might not mean anything, but she's the creator of Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
And basically, it's like a 6-episode type British comedy, which is, something we all love. And basically, it's a tale of like two different people, Sammy and Tom, they're kind of doing the dating apps thing. They meet in a London nightclub. They hit it off. And rather than doing the dance of like, will they have a relationship? Won't they? They just agree to have 3 weeks of good sex and then they'll never contact each other again.
Okay.
So they kind of like remove the emotional commitment or any kind of future promise of the relationship. They're just like, we're going to have sex. They eat pasta. They hang out for 3 weeks and that's it. And they agree to never see each other again.
Wow.
Now, obviously, as you can predict, like feelings emerge. But at the very, very end of their 3 week, and this is a small spoiler, but it kind of sets up the show, we learn that Tom, the guy, has a child.
Oh.
Yes. So spanner. But then from there, it all becomes this like really funny and quite like realistic and heartfelt comedy. On top of that, it's got Eileen B, who we love.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah. And so it is very much like a show that probably was written with Fleabag in mind, but the characters are real and like believable and funny. And the comedy is, it's very quick and very British, and I really enjoyed it. That's a 6-episode show on Binge. It's Smothered.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to put that on the list. That sounds very far up my alley.
It really is, and I think it's perfect, again, like we've spoken about it before, that weird period like after Christmas, before New Year's Eve, where like nothing really matters anymore. You need shows like this to just like wash over you.
When nothing really matters anymore. That's quite dark.
Well, I mean, it's true though,
Yeah.
You just kind of eat until you hate yourself.
And is that what you will be doing on Christmas Day? What are your Christmas plans?
Yes, I'll probably eat until I hate myself and then hopefully just slip into a deep sleep.
Now that you're a father, are you dressing up as Santa?
No, I think that's still a while off. I mean, my kid's only 1, so he doesn't even know like who Santa is or who he is himself. But no, I'll be going away to regional New South Wales, which is where I love to spend Christmas because it gets close to 45 out there.
Your dream temperature.
Correct. But yes, I will be doing all the Christmas things, but of course missing you.
Oh, thank you. That's lovely. We will be back for another pod next week where we're going to be recounting all the kind of pop culture moments, trends and incidences of 2023 and also looking forward to 2024 and what we're excited about, obviously recording more of The Drop. But until then, we hope you have a very Merry Christmas. Take us out with Fast Cars, Thomas.
How does this begin?
You got a fast car. And I want to take it to anywhere.
Maybe we make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. And the place is better.
Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me, myself, I got
This episode of The Drop was produced by Chi Wong. If you enjoyed listening to today's episode of The Drop, make sure to follow us on your favourite podcast app, leave us a review, or better yet, share the episode with a friend. I'm Melanie Kembry. We'll see you next week.